How do you react to that online hate, if at all? Does it ever get to you?
Oh man, if you just get out the house, right? If you just get out from behind from your iPhone, your iPad, your computer screen, right? And you come out the house, man, and you let the sun hit you on the face a little bit sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Breathe in some fresh air. You know what I'm saying? Come on down to where your arena's at one time if WWE is ever in the building. And if you ain't ever been to a WWE shows, man, this is my invitation. Come through. You know what I'm saying? It might change your whole perspective and your whole opinion about Jey Uso. Because when you step into arena, if you buy a ticket, and step into arena and come to the show, man, you'll feel the energy, man. You'll be eating right there with me, instead of hating, man. Come on, stop.
Four letters, one word, I know, and guess what? Screw you, punk. Yeah, cause Saturday night, I'll show you who the best in the world is, who's 4 letters, 1 word,
Wait, what? What happened?
I pressed the wrong button. I'm so sorry.
No, you didn't.
It's now time for The Sit Down with Don Tony.
The Sit Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
Oh boy, Jey Uso will be just fine. He'll be fine. I know. Get ready for Rikishi. Brother, they're ruining you, brother. Could you see what they're doing, brother? Blah, 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 blah. Oh my God. This is so strategic, it's not even funny. WWE's obviously reading the room. Look, if we're honest, and we're not going to just try to play on people's emotions like a lot of others do, you look at the live audience, they're still tremendously behind Jey Uso. Slowly, it's turning into the women and the children for him, and then soon the adult males will pick up on it and start going against him. Saw that for 15 years with John Cena, saw it with others. WWE reads the room. You know, let me put it this way. How do you spice it up Jey Uso without the fans starting to shift in their reaction? You know, yeah, he's main event Uso. He will always be considered one of the greatest tag team partners of all time. But overall, if we look at Jey Uso over the last 3 years, they have done a successful job elevating him to a main event level. Whether you like it or not, if you go to a WWE house show or a TV event or a premium live event, inserting Jey Uso for a main event match doesn't feel ridiculous. It feels a little bit forced these days, but it doesn't feel ridiculous. So in the end, WWE has been successful elevating Jey Uso to the next level. It's obviously hurt Jimmy Uso to an extent, but not necessarily, because Jimmy Uso knew his role and understood that he will always be considered one half of the greatest WWE tag team to ever come around. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you look at legendary tag teams over the years, some before your time. But I'm not comparing the Usos to the Road Warriors or to Demolition or the Rock and Roll Express or the Midnight Express or the Steiner Brothers, and we could go on and on and on. But do we look back at some of those tag team partners and say, oh, you know, they're not as good because they weren't a world heavyweight champion or couldn't have a singles run? No, we don't look at it that way. The intro tonight, And shout out to Alfred. Hopefully he saw my DM before I streamed that. I asked his permission if I could play that clip. The other stuff that I put together, other people created those, but that's my feelings right now about Jey Uso. All right, you elevated him. You got him to the Intercontinental Championship. You got him to the World Championship. All right, now it's time to move on. I want to show you guys a video that somebody sent me. It's got a little bit of a Halloween theme to it. And by the way, we had to put some vintage Wyatt family up there. If you haven't seen the video of the Wyatt Six going to Universal Studios to see the haunted house in person, Eric Rowan, man, my God, he got me so choked up, man. Eric Rowan especially. I mean, you could see it affected everybody. But that video was really powerful. And I said, Eric Rowan's got to go to the backdrop as part of the original Wyatt family for this week. So much love, much love. But, somebody had sent me this video, and it's interesting because I think I've hit on something, and I promise you we'll get into your questions early, because that's what Sunday is all about. It's to sit down. I sit here on my fat ass, and I answer your questions. I relay your comments, whatever you want to talk about, we will get into. Mostly wrestling. We'll get into a couple other things if needed, especially if you grease the palm. Nah. But, this video that was sent to me, it's humorous. But you got to see the video to understand what is going on right now. It's basically a simulation if Triple H went into a haunted house. And it sparked something that I noticed, especially when we get to the history show this week. And it's very, very interesting. I promise you this is not clickbait, but here's a little video clip. It's amateurish, it's humorous, but it sets up what we're going to talk about pretty good. So. It's so true, man. It's so true. Ever since Triple H took over around 2022-ish, have you noticed something over the last 3 years? I'm starting to notice something. And, you don't notice it in little drips and drabs, but we're seeing an interesting pattern, especially over the last 2.5 years, especially. Ever since, the TKO Endeavor bought WWE and Triple H became head, what they have decided to do, and I think it's starting to come to roost, because you're seeing, it's bizarre. It's bizarre, but let me set the stage like this, okay? And I'm going to share an audio clip in a minute. It has to do with Oscar and Io Sky, for you Oscar and Io Sky fans. But, when AEW started to come across as like a snowflake promotion, and listen, please, I'm not throwing shade. I have to set this up the right way. You guys may remember that when we were hearing, before AEW aired its first ever TV show live, you heard early on that the Young Bucks want to get health care for all the wrestlers, and they wanted to do this in equal pay, the men and the women. You heard all those things, and I immediately started to say, this is the first true promotion for the millennials. The really soft people out there that will believe everything that they're fed. Legally, I don't need to be David Otunga. I don't need a Harvard Law graduate degree. I don't need to fucking work for a law firm to figure out when the Young Bucks were saying this, and even Cody for to an extent, and you hear all this shit coming out of the early days of AEW, you knew it wasn't true. You knew it was impossible. You knew it wasn't going to happen. You started to think, and you saw this audience really buying into it. Oh, Tony Khan doesn't release anyone during a pandemic and this and that. Oh, he's such a wonderful person. You know, and then you understand that early on, we knew the foundation of AEW. Listen, again, AEW thinks they had their greatest year yet in 2025, and I agree. For AEW, it's about emotion. It's about mental health. First and foremost, it's about happiness. Tony Khan wants to feel that $100+ million that he loses every year, everybody's happy. You know, if I decide my parents go to Florida and I decide I'm going to take the house and I'm going to throw this tremendous extravagant party, get all this top class food, hire a couple of expensive hip hop artists, get photographers, get simulcast, get all this stuff, all of you could come free, just hang out and I feel important. I feel, look, I have this giant party. Look, I'm spending all this money, but I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm not getting much in return other than happiness. Then I feel my money is well spent. All right. That's why 2025 is the greatest year for AEW. And that's cool. When you're a billionaire 10 times over, you can do that with your money. We can't. So 5 years ago, we noticed early on what AEW's foundation truly was. And it got interesting when CM Punk went there, when Mira and a bunch of others. And you remember that clear and concise moment where Dax Harwood had to realize, do I go down this path or do I follow the yellow brick road? You saw it with a few others. You remember Thunder Rosa early on? Thunder Rosa, AEW is not booking her friends and she's hiding in a bathroom and this and that. And Thunder Rosa realized, nothing wrong with this. Let me just chill. Worry about my own stuff, have a good time, win, lose, no push, whatever it is, I'm going to just appreciate what I have. And that's fine. You look at others. I truly still believe that Deonna Purrazzo is going to be the next one to get a little bit too annoyed at how she's being used, and she may end up getting the shit end of the stick. I don't wish that on her. I think she's one of the top women in that company. But you kind of sense who conforms and who doesn't. We said this 5 years ago. You could sense it. You could feel it. And when you don't have an agenda, when you're not doing it for ad revenue, when you're not doing it for influence, when you're not doing it to get the most likes, to get the most retweets, you're not doing it to stand out, it becomes crystal clear. People have always said to me, and I'm not saying this bragging, God rest Kevin's soul, much love to him. He's chilling over here next to Eddie. One thing that people used to say about Kevin and I for 20 years, how do you guys get this shit so on point? How do you nail everything? There are people waiting with forks and knives. DT, you were wrong. You were wrong. I do get predictions wrong on premium live events and pay-per-views, fine. But how do you ignore the bullshit? You heard, rumors about this, bullshit. Doesn't even make the show. How do you do that for 20 years? When you don't have an agenda, when you're not swayed by influence, when you're not swayed with likes or hits or this or that or this, it becomes crystal clear. So what's happening now is that Triple H, ever since he took over, and I'm not trying to throw shade, I'm just telling you what I honestly believe. I think Triple H realized that he's got to do baby steps. He's got to figure out what everybody's role is and how can I milk this as long as I can. There are some people that will have intercourse and 5 minutes later, douche, it's all over. And then you got some people, hey, how you doing? A little bit of foreplay, a little bit of this. Look, roses on the bed, petals on the bed, champagne, caviar, a little bit of hanging out, a little bit of light kissing, a little bit of foreplay, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. 2 hours later, still going at it. Triple H is like having 6 hours of kind of like bland sex. And it's getting to the point like, could you just come already? Can you just finish already? And trust me, I wasn't thinking about this before, that part, but you look at it like this. We've been saying how many years, not just months, how many years has Dominic Mysterio and Finn Balor at odds with each other? How many years has it been with the bloodline and Jimmy and Jey Uso, this, that, they're together, they're against each other. Deuces, I'm out, I quit, I this, I that, I this. Then they split, they have the WrestleMania match, it sucks. Then this one goes to Raw and this one goes to SmackDown. This one is aligned with Solo Sikoa, this is not aligned with Solo Sikoa. Then, let's reform the bloodline, and then you get WrestleMania, and then everything is back to normal. And then a couple of months ago, Jey Uso's taking a couple of shots, mocking Roman Reigns, like, wait, why is that happening? Why is it being forced? They're taking the scenic route on everything. And early on, you saw little signs of it. Remember when, I think it was Drew McIntyre, no, I think Drew McIntyre was supposed to be the number one contender for Roman Reigns' championship. And I think he was supposed to face Sheamus. And if I remember correctly, and if part of this is wrong, forgive me, but I think it was SmackDown. And they were going to have a number one contenders match. And like, we already know Drew McIntyre's number one contender. I think this was in 2022. Yeah, this was, because I got married in September of 2022, and Clash at the Castle was the day of my wedding. So we already knew Drew. It's Clash at the Castle, United Kingdom. Drew McIntyre, Scott, whatever it is, that's Drew McIntyre's territory. No. They're going to have a number one contenders match. And then what happened? Wasn't the storyline that Sheamus didn't feel well? And it got like postponed for like 3 weeks. And then Drew fights him and Drew gets the match anyway. You remember when Sami Zayn was going to take on Gunther for the championship? And it took 5 fucking weeks. Sammy, I want a shot. No. Gunther, no. Next week, Gunther, why don't you face me? No. Blah, 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 blah. No. For like 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and then all of a sudden, Sammy calls him a coward. How dare you say that? You want a match. You got a match. Like, it took fucking 5 weeks. Everything is getting milked and milked and milked and milked. You got Io Sky now feuding with Asuka, and it's kind of on postponement because of Rhea Ripley breaking her nose. But I want to share something with you guys. Because I was working on a history show for next week. And this clip that I'm about to share with you is 3 years. 3 years ago this week. Who remembers this? Setting up Survivor Series War Games.
Oh, I know what baka means.
Bitch!
That's Io Sky and Asuka, I think, on Raw. I can't show the video, I'll get hit with copyrights. That was 3 fucking years ago. And it's like 3 years later, it's like the same shit. Drew McIntyre, it feels like he's in the same situation. LA Knight feels like he's in the same situation. You have others that feel like they're in the same situation. And it's like, all right, we figured it out. They realize Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, Bloodline, Judgment Day, Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, even Sami Zayn. Look at 2025. What did Sami Zayn do in 2025? We're being honest. Remember the feud with Karrion Kross, Killer Kross, with all due respect? I'm sure he felt it. Kross felt it. I'm sure everybody felt it. This was like 6-7 months of nothing. You know, even the end of it, it's like, what was this? You just see it over and over and over again. And now you got Jey Uso. We brought it up last week. 1 year ago, Jey Uso is feuding with Braun Breaker. We're 1 year later, and it's the same shit. It's over and over and over again. And, you know, now Seth Rollins is injured. And by the way, did you see the NFL show? You know, a couple of weeks ago, like 2 weeks ago, I told everyone, I said, you know when you'll see Seth Rollins again? On that NFL show. You know, and that's when Seth Rollins will reveal his injury. A couple of you may remember that, not last Monday, the Monday before. Well, in case some of you out there haven't seen this yet, this is Seth Rollins, I believe, yesterday or today.
It's for 6 months.
No.
My world championship's going to be worn by some schmuck, either Jey Uso or CM Punk. It's awful. It really is the Halloween scaries, guys. But I'm here, man. I'm in.
I'm so happy to see you.
In full bear suit.
This holiday was not complete.
He's out 6 months. He said 6 months. And I believe him this time. This isn't Rich Eisen's show. And it had to have been yesterday because he didn't know who was going to be champion as of yet. But what's happening now under the Triple H regime is that everything is on super slow motion. You had 7 months of crossing Sami Zayn, which could have been done in 3 or 4 weeks. You have stuff with the Judgment Day, stuff with the bloodline, the new bloodline, the old bloodline. You see this very, very slow progression. You see it even with the women. Look at Bayley and Lyra Vicaria. With all due respect, just think back to when Bayley, or we call her Baypolar, and Lyra, you know, and they reformed. This is like 6 weeks ago, and 6 weeks later, where are we at with this? Everything is just taking too fucking long. And now it's coming to roost. It's coming to roost because people are like, look at Damian Priest. I honestly think of all people, the day they moved Damian Priest to SmackDown, his fucking career is in quicksand. It is, or mud. He's stuck in the mud. Do you ever hear anything about Damian Priest anymore? Nothing. Aleister Black, they put him with Zelina Vega. They don't even have nothing really for Zelina Vega. Look at Julia. Ever since she got to the main roster, her 3 biggest opponents were B-Fab, Zelina Vega, and Mia Yim. Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. You look at others. We told you, didn't we predict that Candice LeRae, by the time we get around Halloween, you're going to suddenly see a little shift? Because we figured out the contract situation from a couple of years ago. Johnny Gargano, expect a little bit of buzz soon. Who's the other person? Tommaso Ciampa. Expect to hear something soon there. I'm not saying bad or good, but what I'm saying is everybody is just almost on standstill. Like you could literally skip 6 months of WWE and have someone in 10 minutes tell you what's going on, and almost all of it is the same. There's a few exceptions. There's obviously a few exceptions. To me, probably my favorite part of it all is Dominic Mysterio. Because you remember about 6 weeks ago, we said that the storyline now with Dominic Mysterio is slowly he's going to realize that he can win without the Americanos and without Judgment Day's help. And slowly, even though he's doing the Eddie Guerreros and he's cheating to win, but Dominic Mysterio's realizing, I don't need anybody else. Now, he's not going to say that publicly because the day he says it publicly is the day that El Grande Americano, there he is, shoves his foot up his ass. And that's when Judgment Day maybe even turns on him. Everything is just slow and stuck in the mud. And it's starting to really wreak its head. We're starting to sense it now. Few other people out there are starting to sense it too. Now, you got to be careful because there are people out there that will complain and complain and complain because they just want to get ad revenue and get the most hits that they could possibly get. But as time goes on, you're slowly starting to hear more and more people complain. The reason why what I'm saying now is not very popular is because you look at the crowds, they're still showing up, they're paying top dollar. But what is also starting to happen, and I think you guys feel this as well, and I saw this come in early on, and this was a super shout out, and this kind of sets up what I wanted to say too, and I think you all agree with me. Chainsaw Charlie says, wasn't feeling Saturday night's main event. It had nothing to do with the World Series, not into baseball. I was only 2 when Saturday night's main event came out. WWE always brings up the old Saturday night's main events, but watching them now, these seem nothing like them. What are my thoughts? As far as Saturday night's main event, I'll answer that in a second. But what I'm starting to feel also is you get what you pay for. And what I mean by that is Saturday night's main event, you got Peacock, all right, you get to see it. You got your overseas, you got YouTube, you get to see it. It's not an ESPN deal. It's not a premium live event. Ticket prices are very reasonable compared to other events that WWE does. So what do you get yesterday? Sure, CM Punk was crowned World Heavyweight Champion. Somebody needed to be crowned World Heavyweight Champion. This coming week is the anniversary of AJ Styles winning the WWE Championship against Jinder Mahal on SmackDown. But that was overseas. I think in Liverpool, I think it might have been. I can't remember which country it is, but we'll talk about it next week. But you had to crown a new champion. Saturday night's main event, it feels like, okay, as far as money-making wise, it's not really a moneymaker. It's part of the Peacock deal, but the Peacock deal is nothing like what it used to be because it's just Saturday night's main event and NXT, premium live events. That's it. I mean, you look at the CW deal compared to USA Network, and then you realize, or Netflix, you realize the difference in money. Netflix obviously has more content, but my point is the Peacock deal is this now. So Saturday night's main event, we're not making a crazy amount of money. So, we'll put on a show, but to answer Charlie, nothing right now feels like old Saturday night's main event. Why are you playing Animotion? Why are you playing the original theme? You have Jesse Ventura. Okay, that's an old school thing. You put some people front row from yesteryear. That's a cool thing. But there's nothing about Saturday night's main event that feels like retro. And I know you change with the times. But one of the things that is different is back in the day, I watched a bunch of younger journalists out there giving their reactions last night to Saturday night's main event, and they talked about Cody Rhodes defending the undisputed WWE Championship against Drew McIntyre, and I saw at least 3 different people say, oh, just customarily like old Saturday night's main event. The main event was always the opener. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? That's not true. I mean, it might have happened once in a blue moon, but that wasn't the format for Saturday night's main event back in the day. Are you kidding me? But the thing is, Saturday night's main event is where you would have, maybe a heel turn or a babyface turn or swerve or even hokey, lighthearted stuff. And they don't do any of that now. Just because you play an old theme song and you use an old graphic and you have Jesse Ventura around, you put a couple of people from yesteryear, this doesn't feel like Saturday night's main event. It feels like, oh, wrestling is on TV for Saturday night. Oh, if you're just home and you want to see a little extra wrestling, you can. But it's not even a house show. It's not even a house show because there's only 4 matches. This feels nothing like Saturday night's main event. Even in the 90s and the 2000s, whatever it was, you have Matt Hardy having a boxing match. You still had gimmicky stuff. That's what made Saturday night's main event felt unique. There have been TV shows over the years that had a unique feel to it. Saturday Night Heat had a unique feel to it. Shotgun Saturday Night had a definite unique feel to it. But this just feels like, all right, we have to fulfill the Peacock deal. We use the old gimmick. Maybe it'll attract some people who used to watch us and everything. But to me, it's nothing more of, hey, you got, once every couple of months, a Saturday night wrestling show that we're going to televise. And it feels nothing like that. But getting back to what I said before, and thank you for the 20 spot, Charlie, I appreciate it. But getting back to what I said before, when you have a premium live event, the matches seem more important. When you have one of the big premium live events like Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, that's when it really feels uber important. And it's all, and I think people are starting to realize, like, all right, Raws and SmackDowns, you get, your weekly whatever, but if you really want to see something really good, we're going to put it on only on an event where we could get the most money out of it. And I think that's a TKO move. I think it's also why they're doing so much international, because if they're not going to make a great amount of coin on an event, you're going to get either what they have to put on to fulfill progressions of storylines, or in the case, a championship vacancy, or they're just going to go through the motions. The last Saturday night's main event didn't feel very much eventful. Yeah, it was Goldberg's retirement. They fucking put Goldberg's retirement on Saturday night's main event. And yes, it got cut off of NBC, whatever. But the point is, Goldberg is so 90s. We don't see this, we don't see an additional audience that is going to go out of the way. That's why they did it in Atlanta. If you would have done Goldberg's retirement in Texas or California or Jersey or somewhere else, maybe international, maybe, but everywhere else would be like, oh, yeah, Goldberg, yeah, I remember the Fiend match. Oh, yeah, Goldberg, oh, yeah. So let's put it in Atlanta so we could get as many people that give a shit to show up. And we'll do it on Saturday night's main event, because we don't want to throw that on a premium live event. We're certainly not going to put it on a WrestleMania, even if we had 3 nights of WrestleMania. We're not going to save that for Saudi Arabia either. We're just going to fucking throw it on a Saturday night. Very lackluster card, lackluster audience. And this is the aura that WWE's starting to get. Depending on the ticket prices, it depends on what caliber of quality, of importance of matches. I'm not saying work ethic, because these wrestlers work their ass off. They work their ass off. This is not a shot on any of the wrestlers. But depending on the ticket prices and the location, that determines the significance of the matches. And when you start having that vibe, I don't need to. What's going to happen on Raw? Braun Breaker is going to act like a stupid Pollock for 3 weeks in a row, and he's going to say to Paul Heyman, so, Paul, why didn't we do anything at Saturday night's main event? Why didn't we just crack the heads open? Why didn't we do this? And Paul Heyman's like, hey, stupid, I told you 3 weeks ago. When Brock Lesnar first came in, he could have nailed everybody, but he waited. Look at CM Punk back then. He waited in 434 days. The tribal chief. Blah, 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 blah. You literally could skip it for weeks and weeks and still not really missed much. You could predict what's going to happen tomorrow. CM Punk is going to come out, Celebration, cut a promo. Then you might get into interruption from Braun Breaker. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll get interrupted from Jey Uso. Jey Uso will have another, problem in the back. He died to me. He died to me. Everybody died to me. I don't know who I am. We got Survivor Series coming up. You heard the rumors matches for Survivor Series. If CM Punk and Jey Uso are in that match, Jey, I know you don't like me. I don't like you. I know you're man. I'm champion. Blah, 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 blah. But we got to fight for the bigger picture here. Even if Brock Lesnar does show up, even if Austin Theory does return and he gets put into Survivor Series War Games, this shit is, 3 weeks away? They have to fucking rush this now. So you're going to see, you could predict it. The Kabuki Warriors against Bayley and Lyra Valkyria on Monday night. The Kabuki Warriors, they just did that amazing promo package at the expense of Kairi Sane a little bit because they want to stick it to Goldberg, deservingly so. But you think the Kabuki Warriors now are going to lose with Bailey and Lyra? You know, they're trying to push them to maybe go to the next level and be the next tag champs, especially when Charlotte reminded us last week, well, we only need 2 more title defenses and we make history. I think that's the telltale sign that they won't make history. You could pretty much predict. Why do you tune in anyway? Because you like the wrestlers enough that you just want to see what's going on. But it's not must-see TV anymore. And I'm telling you, slowly, fans are starting to realize this person is not important. This person, that little horror thing from earlier, I know it's goofy, but you can scream to the top of your lungs, push Carmelo Hayes, We Want Cross, LA Knight, Drew McIntyre, what the fuck is going on? Why are you jobbing Rusev as much as you have? Look at this person. And you realize there's no room for them right now. It's the same cast of players going into WrestleMania. You might add a couple of additional names just to fill in and just kind of give, when you eat the same dinner every day, after a while it gets really, really boring. So you might add a little tiny bit to it, but at the same time, it's the same nucleus, the same shit. And here we are 3 years later, and you look at 3 years ago and you'll be kind of shocked at how much is the same. So as far as Saturday night's main event goes, just my quick thoughts about it. Jey Uso didn't look very well yesterday. Some people thought he might have had a couple of Samoan cocktails. I don't know what it was. It's interesting to see some of the clips back when CM Punk was a little frustrated, when he poured the water on his head, when he kicked Jey Uso on the head for not doing a neck breaker properly. Like, Jey Uso, it just felt like he was having a match. It didn't feel like that he was going for the World Heavyweight Championship. Like, everything that's been building up for 2-3 months. I don't know who I am. I don't know who I am. I forgot who I am. He doubted me. All this shit. Even when you look at the interview he did on Raw Talk, or whatever that show is with what the hell's his name? Sam Roberts. Go look at that appearance from last week. It's like there's no energy there. It's just like he's going through the motions. And I don't want to hear like, he's having a rough time at this. I don't buy it. It just, Jey Uso, they're going to have to force this into a storyline. I don't know if they do turn him heel, but they got to force this into a storyline. This way you'll get enough fools out of there that'll say, oh, so they really did this because they wanted to go in this direction, or they're intentionally going this route. So the match yesterday, what I got out of that match was you could feel CM Punk wanted it, and Jey Uso was like, whatever. Whether they decide to dwell on that and turn it into a storyline, it doesn't matter. Very average match. Everything on the card was average. The match that I enjoyed, 2 matches actually. I enjoyed Jade Cargill. She dominated. She did everything that she used to do in AEW, but just 1,000% more polished. Tiffany Stratton, getting dominated, and rightfully so. And Jade Cargill is your new women's champion, which is the right way to go. But you even look at that and you say to yourself, okay, who's on the horizon? Who's on the horizon? When you look at that roster outside of Bianca Belair, you could pick any babyface you want and say, oh, this person's next in line, or this person's next in line. And then you realize her run is going to be kind of difficult. There's none of these main huge names. I mean, Charlotte Flair is tag team champion right now. So Jade Cargill, it's going to be interesting to see. I don't think she'll get into the Julia rut, and hope to God they do not pair her up with someone. Nothing against Kiana James, but that to me is just like, talk about makeshift. But Jade Cargill impressed me yesterday. She did a great job and she earned it. Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes, adding the stipulation if Cody gets disqualified or counted out, he loses the championship. Okay, that's fine. And Drew McIntyre did everything he possibly could to get Cody to get disqualified. It didn't work. But the new American Dream, I like what they're doing with Drew, but my problem is what's next? What's next? There's no room for Drew McIntyre or LA Knight right now as a world heavyweight champion. Unless you're going to start pushing him in NXT, unless you're going to bring him down to AAA, which they're not going to do. They're forced to be supporting actors in a movie. And as much as they stand out and shine, it ain't happening right now. This is a problem that WWE is really starting to have because Survivor Series, too much money involved. Cena's retirement, too much money involved. You're not overshadowing Cena's retirement. Royal Rumble, yeah, you're going to pick new number one contenders. But a lot of people still think that Sami Zayn may end up becoming a number one contender because remember, Sami Zayn, early this year, I need to be world champion. I need to be world champion. Do they do that still? And then you realize, holy shit, we're going into WrestleMania of next year, April, and there's still no room for these guys. And then what happens after that? The road to SummerSlam? And it's like, wow, another year or 2 years are going to go by and it's the same shit. So a lot of the wrestlers that you want to see get an opportunity to get pushed, it's not in the cards. And like I was checking out Jason Solomonster's podcast earlier today, and he was saying that shorter title runs would be nice, a little bit more. And I agree with him 100%, but not at the fucking ticket prices that you're trying to charge. You need the big established names to be in those positions. And there's so many of these international events that they're charging. The only way you're going to do that is if you do it in a country where you're not charging an immense amount of money. WWE just had house shows in Japan. And if you don't tune into our Monday shows, you probably miss things like this. But one thing that we have covered is that there are quite a few countries that WWE goes to that they cannot charge the insane ticket prices that they do in the United States. You look up ticket prices in Mexico, it's fucking crazy how cheap they are. You look up the ticket prices even for those super shows in Japan. I think the most expensive ticket might have been $300 for a front row. Here, a house show with that kind of talent on it would be $2,000, $3,000. You look at some countries, Saudi Arabia, you think that WrestleMania comes to Saudi Arabia. You think they're going to charge people in Saudi Arabia $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $20,000 to sit front row? I'm not even going to say what could happen out of that. No, their payday is going to be from the Saudi government. And it's almost like you're going to have the Saudi government is a bunch of Tony Khans. They're paying WWE and the event itself. WWE is not going there for ticket money. WWE gets paid X amount of dollars for their shows. And Saudi Arabia is just there to fill up the buildings. You go to some other countries. You go to Australia, you got to pay big money. You go to United Kingdom, you got to pay big money. You go to Japan, no. Go to China, good luck. So WWE, you see where they're going in certain areas. You go to France, you go to Puerto Rico, oh, we're going back. They're not going back because they loved you guys so much. It's because you paid big money and you showed up. If those buildings were half full, if those ticket prices were half the cost, they might come back 5 years from now, not 1 year from now. So Drew McIntyre, there's no room for him to be a world champion right now. So you put on a great performance. People will complain on social media, but the realization is sinking in for a lot of people. Wow, they ain't going to waste Cody's championship run on Drew. They're not going to waste it on a Saturday night's main event. They're going to waste it on a Raw or SmackDown. It's going to be Survivor Series, or it's going to be WrestleMania, or it's going to be Saudi Arabia. It's going to be SummerSlam. It's going to be a big event, big ticket prices. You're going to see people turning heel for almost no reason whatsoever other than shock TV. That's something that Triple H does now, if you notice. you see some people turning, and it doesn't even kind of make sense, but they just turn. Doesn't happen often, but just shock the world. Anything could happen. Oh, look, he turned here. And then sometimes you make money out of it. Sometimes you hit gold, and sometimes you don't. They are not turning people baby faces or heels simply because it's, what's best for business or what's right. They're doing it just for a buzz, for shock TV. AJ Lee comes back. It's not her fault. It's not CM Punk's fault. AJ Lee comes back for WrestlePalooza. Nice build-up, nice everything. I believe she's coming back. I think she's the one that Maxine Dupree was talking about on Raw. But you look at AJ Lee, and it's like people week after week, fuck, where is she? What's going on? Is she coming back? Is she not coming back? AJ Lee. And then, when was WrestlePalooza? Could someone in the chat room give me the date of WrestlePalooza? I just would like to share with everyone, just to remind everyone how many weeks it's been. She was on TV for what, 4 straight weeks or 3 straight weeks? I think it was 3 weeks to lead up to WrestlePalooza, including WrestlePalooza. When was WrestlePalooza? I'll let everybody know. And look, nothing. So when does she come back? Oh, right before Survivor Series. Because we got Survivor Series. That when people start feeling that you're purposely just milking shit and saving things because of the ticket prices and because it's on ESPN, people are going to start really, really getting pissed off, or they're not going to follow your promotion every week. So let me just reload this page. Every week, it's the traditional thing. My chat room freezes up. Just give me 2 seconds. So Drew McIntyre, put it on a great performance against Cody. But in the end, there was no doubt. We knew what was going to happen. I think what really sucked about, I got to reload this. Sorry, everybody. Just give me 1 second. I have to reload something here. I know you guys could still see me. I'm just reloading a page. Just give me 2 seconds. I definitely need to see the chat, see what's going on. I'm sure by now someone has put up the, here we go. All right. All right. So September 20th. Thank you, Stinger. Thank you, Rocky Red. September 20th. 6 weeks almost. Almost 6 weeks that since AJ Lee had that match. See what I mean? How they're milking shit and going like turtle mode right now. You would think that a week or two afterwards, you celebrate, you do this, you do that. Guys, I'll be back, whatever. Or fucking at minimum, put something online. So you have people, I know absence makes the heart grow fonder, but everything is getting milked now. 6 fucking weeks. So Cody Rhodes retains. He resists the temptation of being disqualified. I don't think the belt getting broken was deliberate. That I don't know, but Drew got DDT'd on the belt without the referee seeing it, and the belt looked like it was broken a little bit. Could have been deliberate, maybe, but in the end, maybe it was deliberate just to emphasize the fact that Drew got nailed on the belt, and that's why he got knocked out. So, Cody retains. But for me, my favorite match of the night, Dominic Mysterio retaining the Intercontinental Championship, defeating Penta and Rusev. Dominic, by far, the most over of the 3 guys. And the bell hammer came into play once again. I do not feel Rusev is getting buried. Dom is just one step ahead of everybody right now. And again, we picked up on this about a month and a half ago that the storyline slowly is that Dominic is going to realize, wow, I don't need anybody. I can do everything on my own. And that's going to piss off the people that are trying. You know what I want to see happen on Raw tomorrow night? AJ Styles and AJ Lee, they're going to defend the tag titles against Jada McDonough and Finn Balor. if I'm Dominic, I return the favor that Finn and JD did yesterday. And that favor is absolutely nothing. You're on your own. You're on your own. Difference is Dominic retained and they will lose Monday night. I think we need a little progression there. Are they milking it now because Liv Morgan is out with an injury? I don't know. But look, I was going to drink it like this. Smart. Dominic is super over. And you know why he's super over? Not because he's Ray's son. I mean, that's part of it early on. And I've said this 1,000 times over the last couple of months. The fans see how much he gives a shit about wrestling, how much he loves wrestling, how much he loves working out there. He loves messing around with the fans. He is putting in the work, and people see it. That week that I always bring up where he main evented Raw, NXT, and SmackDown all in the same week was the turning point for him. He went and got the NXT North American Championship and worked that extra time because he wanted to. Wasn't because of a payday. He wants to put in all this extra work. He's being rewarded now with AAA. And my God, he gets the mega championship, and it's a promotion that his father made, legendary back in the early to mid 90s, early 90s. That's his heritage. And he's the leader of that company, and everybody's fucking, behind him now. He's still a heel, but I've said many times, he's going to get Eddie Guerrero love. And I don't mean Eddie Guerrero love after Eddie Guerrero passed, because trust me, we all cried when Eddie passed away. And as the years go by, the love for Eddie gets even stronger. But when Eddie turned to Babyface and he was doing Los Guerreros, lying, cheating, and stealing, everybody fell in love with Eddie Guerrero. Everybody fell in love because the smile, you could feel it. Remember we were talking about Sami Zayn earlier? One thing I noticed about Sami Zayn, and I think you'll all agree with me what I'm about to say. Look at Sami Zayn from 3 years ago to now. Sami Zayn was at his best when you saw the smile, when you saw that innocent laughter, when he was in the ring with the Bloodline and we shared the highlights last week on the History Show, when he said to Roman in the ring that Jey hasn't been himself lately, he hasn't been very oozy. And he had everybody breaking character. If you focus only on Sami Zayn's face, even when Roman Reigns looks at Jey and says, so that's it, you haven't been oozy? You look at Sami Zayn's face and there's just this innocent laughter, smile, that you just look at him and you burst out laughing. It's happiness. That's gone. That is gone. This past year, it's emotion. I need to win the world champion. That's nice. So do I. So does everybody out there. They want to win the world championship. Get in fucking line. That laughter, innocent happiness aspect of Sami Zayn is gone. And that's why you don't really give two shits about him all that much. Damian Priest, we could go down the line. A lot of why people got to those levels, it almost feels like, all right, we think back, bad example, but some people will relate. Back when Christian was at WWE before he went to TNA, he was feuding with John Cena, and they had that infamous back and forth. I think it was a battle rap or whatever it was. And I remember doing my hotline back then, and people were saying, I don't know, I'm behind Christian on this one. Is this something? And this is before Cena was getting shoved down our throats. Christian organically was getting his ass over, and WWE fucking stopped it. You didn't feel it, so to speak, in one spurt, but you look back and they fucking put a stop to it. And then he finally won the World Heavyweight Championship and lost it like this. And I will never forget this. I haven't seen it. I haven't covered it since it happened, but I will never forget this. Christian loses the championship in almost no time. And Christian almost apologized to everybody online. And Christian said to everybody, don't worry, I'll regain it back soon. And you realize, nah, it's like WWE realized, okay, we reached that. Okay, now we could pull back a little bit. You might even feel that way for Jey Uso. But I think in Jey Uso's case, WWE did succeed in getting him to a main event level. on his own as a singles competitor. But now people are like, okay, all right, we see what you're doing. There's like this 8 people that you insist on pushing. You know, we'd like to have this person a little bit more. Or, okay, LA Knight, you take on Braun, but you lose. Then on a house show, you'll team up with someone else, and you'll pin Bronson Reed, and you'll get a win. You want to get a good laugh? Go look up LA Knight's match statistics this year, especially since he's been moved to Raw. And you'll see the matches that you were hoping he would stand out in as a single star, he loses almost every time. But you put him in a tag team with someone else, especially on a house show, and he wins almost every time. You'll see it, and you'll see it with others too. So you'll see. You'll pick up on it. So Dominic Mysterio, a little bit dirtier than Rusev on Saturday night. She cheated to win and retains the title. And to me, that was my favorite match. Favorite match of the night. Not even close. Now, before we get into your questions and then wrap up the show, not yet. 2 other points I want to make. This thumbnail that I made, being the Elite, Jay Cargill, CM Punk, Ricky Saints, and Cody Rhodes, that's not a shot on AEW. Yeah, it's a play on the Young Bucks show name. But need I remind everyone out there that Chris Jericho was the first AEW world champion. Mercedes Moné has a stranglehold on the women's division there. You've had WWE guys come to AEW, win championship gold, and be the focal point. The only reason why I even brought this picture up is because, yeah, those 4 were strategically put there, obviously, for the point. But what I say to you is you look at how AEW has used former WWE wrestlers, former WWE stars in AEW, and did they put the belt on them at a time where they worked their way up and have earned it? I think Chris Jericho, it's a little bit unfair because Chris Jericho, they were crowning their first world champion and having big recognition, name value was important. But Bryan Danielson, when Bryan Danielson was fighting for the world championship in AEW, does anybody remember? Anybody remember? First couple of years, nothing. And then we heard Bryan Danielson told Tony Khan, I don't need to be world champion. Let others be world champion. Then towards, his retirement days, suddenly, it's a different story. But when you see certain people becoming champion in AEW that were in WWE, you say to yourself, did they work up the ladder or work to a point where they have earned that championship, or was the belt put on them as an advertisement? As to add a little bit extra. I get a brand new car. All right. The brand new car is nice and everything, but you know what? I'll put some custom rims on it. Or I'll put this on it because I need the car to stand out just a little bit more. So in a lot of cases, I feel certain people in AEW were given championships as an advertising ploy, as a way like, okay, we don't have to just say Mercedes Moné. We say TBS champion Mercedes Moné. It's not even about the 12 belts. You look at others, champion. So you look at the people on the screen. At the time that they won their championships, Cody Rhodes went through a year and a half of hell in WWE. Remember when he lost to Roman Reigns and he put the duck in the ring? Hey, look, I got it right here. Look, there you go. Remember this next to Cody Rhodes? He went through fucking a shitload to finally get the championship. Ricky Saints worked his way up. CM Punk, he's proven since he's been there that he has earned the right to this, and Jade Cargill worked her ass off as well. I'm not comparing it. All I'm saying is that for those out there that are saying, oh, look, they're just doing this as a shot to AEW. No, I think it's showing you that this is what happens when you put a lot of time and a lot of work into someone and they have organically earned that spot, and not just giving someone a championship when they first come in simply because you want to enhance their name value. So, we can make a Be in the Elite thumbnail with former WWE people having AEW gold, and it's the same thing. So I think every person in that picture, I don't think anybody could say, oh, they just put the belt on them because they're coming from AEW as a shot. I don't think so. I don't think so at all. So that's why we put that together. One last thing. This. Let me tell you right now. Nothing personal against Dave Meltzer and others. I still support him even though I criticized him. But no one of right mind is actually claiming that Edge and who was the other person they said? Edge and Chris Jericho. The WWE's teasing them in the tournament. To try to get extra buzz. No, they're not. You put that out there a bunch of weeks ago, and to try to cover up that bullshit, you got to say, oh, WWE's teasing that Edge could possibly be in it, or Chris Jericho. No, they're not. When they said that someone outside of the WWE could be in this, they're talking about, say his name. I mean, you can't be that stupid. I mean, it's literally for like Joe Hendry might be in the tournament. Somebody in NXT might be in the tournament. But no one in their right mind, you know who says that? Busted Open. That's who says that. Jonathan Coachman, you see, or anybody in that show. They're the ones that say, oh, should be Stone Cold Steve Austin. The last opponent, it should be Edge. It has to be Edge. David Otunga, the fucking Harvard Law genius, the wannabe coach. David Otunga right now is basically auditioning to Busted Open. Please hire me, put me on the show. He did that whole Andrade stuff, and he actually had the nerve. This is a Harvard Law attorney saying this to all of you. I think WWE is teasing this 1 year because they want to have a leverage that they could maybe negotiate with AEW to get Edge to fight John Cena's last match. I'm like, who the fuck is going to believe? Oh, yes, I realize. There's enough morons out there that'll buy into that. You're a fucking lawyer, and you think that they're going to... How much trouble could you get into for something like that? Isn't that like blackmail? Oh, God, what an idiot. So he says, I know why. Maybe, just maybe. No, maybe. It's a lot of you morons put that shit out there to get attention because there's a lot of bullshit wrestling news sites that'll cover it. The Outsiders is like Joe Hendry and stuff like that. Plus, it's a tournament. If you actually think, let's just go with their logic and say Edge will be John Cena's final opponent. That means Edge will need to win 3 matches. 3 matches. Isn't it a 16-man tournament? So that's 4 matches on this side, 4 matches on this side. 4 becomes 2, and 2 becomes 1. So whoever's in the tournament will have to win 1, 2, 3 matches. So yeah, they're going to get Edge. They're teasing Edge. They're teasing Chris Jericho. They're teasing my dead grandmother. Whoever's in the tournament is going to have to win 3 fucking matches probably. Yeah, Dolph Ziggler's not a bad choice. I'm fine with that as well. In fact, if you really want to make it fun, kind of screws up the Gunther thing. But if you really, yeah, you could do Gunther. You know what you could do? You could put the brackets out there. What I hope WWE doesn't do, I just realized this. I hope WWE puts out all the brackets at one time, but I don't think they are. You know why I don't think they are? Because they're going to want to surprise us. If they don't reveal the 16 men in one shot, then they could throw a doozy at us every week and keep us wondering who's going to be in the tournament next week. You know, we're not going to tell you who's in the tournament until we announce the matches. So you literally could have this week, you know, Joe Hendry comes out, and this week, blah, 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 blah comes out. On SmackDown, Randy Orton comes out, and this person comes out. And I'm sure we're going to get some dumb disqualifications, dumb interference that'll lead to other matches, maybe even Survivor Series. And then Gunther, if he's in this tournament, if he's able to return, then Gunther could be a match that happens 2 or 3 weeks from now. And then you could do it. Or someone advances and then gets injured, and then someone else has to fill in for them, and maybe Gunther gets flooded. I don't know. I don't get paid that kind of money to put that out there. But they're going to do a tournament, I think 16 men, and whoever wins the tournament will go on to face John Cena. Very, very smart thing that WWE did. As much as we criticized WWE earlier, they did something very, very smart on Saturday night's main event. Over the next couple of weeks, you're going to see clips of an interview John Cena did. And that's their way of getting John Cena on WWE television every week without it being an official appearance. Because remember, November 17th, Boston. November 24th, Madison Square Garden. Survivor Series, then Saturday night's main event. I think that's the schedule. So what do you do for those other weeks? You can't have a contract signing unless the contract signing is on Boston's Raw or MSG's Raw, which it ain't going to be. So now you do interview clips to fill in those weeks why John Cena's not there. And then the person who wins the tournament may not even have a face-off with John Cena. You may not even get a contract signing out of it. So I like it because you don't need a storyline. If Gunther is healthy enough to work it, then Gunther could add to it. I'm going to retire you, just like I retired Bill Goldberg. It's got to always say Bill. And Gunther could keep that legacy going of retiring all people of yesteryear, has-beens, whatever it was. Whatever you want to use for Gunther. But I like the tournament idea. I hope, and I'll make this clear, everybody in the tournament has to have some type of history with John Cena. Yes, John Cena and Gunther have a little interaction because remember, that was a WrestleMania match we thought was going to happen, I think, a year or two ago. I don't remember what year it was, but there was a tease that people thought Gunther and John Cena were going to face each other at WrestleMania. Almost everybody in that match needs to have history with John Cena. And maybe you do see Dolph Ziggler, but I think you do see Joe Hendry. Because a lot of people, Joe Hendry did numerous interviews saying, I would love to face Cena as the final opponent. Who is the genius that originally said, oh, I know what it was. I know who it was. Mark Henry. I swear to God, I will never do a show again if I'm lying. Mark Henry, a couple of weeks ago, said there's only one person that should be John Cena's final opponent, and that's Joe Hendry. And if John Cena, Mark Henry really said this. Remember, this is busted open, Mark Henry. This is not Mark Henry. He says, if John Cena really wants to give back to this business, he does the job to Joe Hendry. Imagine somebody paying 5 G's, 10 G's to sit front row to see John Cena's final match. With all due respect, and I even think Joe Hendry would have the balls to say this publicly, and turn around and say, wow, I paid $10,000 to see John Cena's final match, and they gave him a TNA guy, and he lost. I mean, that would kind of take away the stink from Baron Corbin versus Kurt Angle. Just imagine. Listen, I'm a huge fan of Joe Hendry. I'm a big fan of Joe Hendry, but he is not proven to be this massive ticket seller. He hasn't been proven to be this mega ratings draw. He is over, and he's over even outside of wrestling, but not on that level. Let me put it this way. I don't know many people out there that would turn around and say, I paid 5 G's to see Joe Hendry versus John Cena. So Joe Hendry will not be John Cena's final opponent. It can't be. Just will not be. But think I'm lying. Go look it up with Mark Henry. But remember, busted open, Mark Henry. We don't need to get there about busted open. We understand why they do what they do. We know. What did I do? What did I do? All right. All right, enough of moronic Don Tony. Let's get into a couple of super shout-outs. Then we will hit the chat room. We'll spend about 40 minutes talking whatever, and then we shall jet. Who sent this? Mikey Ravello. Chelsea Green and Ethan Page won the AAA mixed tag team titles tonight. Oh, okay. My reaction, it adds additional interest outside of Mexico and AAA. I would like to see how the fans reacted to it. Chelsea Green is awesome, and Ethan Page is awesome too. I mean, they're both, I hate using strong language sometimes. I don't mean this in a really offensive way, but I think a lot of you agree with me. Ethan Page and Chelsea Green, as far as their wrestling characters go, they're a pair of cunts. You know what I mean? Like, Ethan Page is just that guy that just gets under your skin, that you just want to see him get his ass kicked. But he's so good at what he does, like you're entertained. Like, you don't want to leave the room. You want to see him get his ass kicked. Chelsea Green, she knows how to irritate people. They are professionals. And honestly, I have no issues with them winning the AAA tag titles. I don't think this is, WWE's changing the landscape of AAA. I think they're trying to broaden the audience. And that's pretty interesting because WWE does not do mixed tags where men attack women. I actually almost shared a video at the beginning of the show, but I had to do the Jey Uso stuff. I'll put it at the beginning of Monday's show that I'll do. And it's a video that I got from a WWE event where James Ellsworth faced like 7 WWE women. This was the time where Becky Lynch was feuding with Carmella, and they actually did Becky Lynch versus James Ellsworth. I don't remember if it was Raw or SmackDown, but it's coming up this week in history. And I was looking back at the time to see how this was covered on the net. And you'll be shocked at how many people thought that WWE was finally bringing intergender wrestling to WWE. You'd be shocked at how many people were bringing this up before that match happened. And I've said this, Kev said this, God rest his soul, way back when. WWE is not going to allow men to beat up women on their show. You might get once every 5 years where like Baron Corbin hits an end of days, or you're not going to see full-blown matches. What you see is very, very one-sided. And sure enough, I watched back Becky Lynch versus James Ellsworth, and James Ellsworth did nothing. All he did was throw Becky Lynch out of the ring once. He got no offense whatsoever, and Becky beat the shit out of him. And then people were like, they're bringing intergender. I'm like, no, they're not. No, they're not. People thought that with Nia Jax not too long ago. The WWE does not do that. Interesting to see that they're allowing Ethan Page and Chelsea Green. I got to see how much interaction there is with men on the women in AAA. That's not WWE's mantra, and they're not changing it. They're not, even though TKO is now in charge, or Endeavor. Ain't happening. But I have a clip from a show where 7 WWE women all beat up James Ellsworth. And it's a very interesting clip because if I remember correctly, Becky Lynch does the people's elbow. Charlotte Flair does a choke slam. I don't remember what others do. I know Naomi hits a move. It's interesting, but that's what WWE does. Men are not going to beat up women. Ain't happening. So, but I'm glad they won tonight. Very glad that they won. Shout out to you, Austin Nance. Thank you as always, my friend. Supporting the show, moderating, being a friend of the show. He enjoys the history shows. They'll be missed. Well, look, we're covering up to 2024. So we have 8 episodes left, and then that'll free up a crazy amount of time for me to start invading YouTube a little bit more. 2026, we're going to start flooding YouTube with honesty. I mean, it's not going to be boring honesty. It's going to be wise-ass scumbag honesty. You know, we're always going to keep it straight up and legit, no clickbaiting stuff, but I think it's about time that we start putting that perspective out there. You know, it's going to be available everywhere, but as far as doing shows on other nights, I'm thinking about it. I'm working on it. I will definitely share with, I don't think anybody will get offended when I say this, but as far as our Patreon family and our channel members here, I call you guys like the stockholders of the shows. You're family, but you're like the stockholders. So I'm going to run some show ideas with all of you in the very near future and get some of your opinions on what days, what nights. I would like to do a show once in a while in the morning or the afternoon, because especially for our international friends, the time zones are a little whack. And I want to do it at times where others, for the most part, are not doing shows. Mondays is ours. Mondays, we've been doing that since the 90s. So Mondays is ours. But other nights, you know, and days, we want to figure out. But remember, it cannot interfere with my real job, because that's what pays the bills. And that's my insurance stuff. And I can't get burned out over it. So we're going to have, you know, fun, leisure fun, you know, not too many brain cells being used. But we definitely get to up it in 2026. It'll be DTKC style. That'll never change. So, but thank you, Austin, for that. I really appreciate it, my friend. Jim Kahn, what did the AEW guy say to the WWE guy? You look familiar. Yeah, I mean, look, remember, WWE people left to go to AEW. You know, FTR, another great example. I expect more people to leave WWE. I expect more releases coming up very, very soon. November has become, not every year has become a release year also. So do not be surprised. I think, what was it last year? That Corbin, Indy Hartwell, and Tegan Knox, I think those were the 3 that were released last year in November. I don't have my notes in front of me, but I think those were the 3. It's kind of weird how you have good memory on some stuff, and I can't even remember what I ate for dinner yesterday. But look, you know, you see what WWE's doing. And some people are getting really, really hurt because of it. And you say to yourself, okay, how does Drew break through? How does LA Knight break through? How does anyone else break through and get that championship? The only answer I could say to you is injury. Injury. I mean, when would CM Punk have become World Heavyweight Champion if Seth Rollins wasn't injured? WrestleMania? You know, when? You know what's funny too? And I'm going to eventually put a montage together. But if you're ever bored, I'll tell you something right now that you should look up. And it's fucking fascinating. It is fascinating. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this. But I do the history shows every week. And I have my old notes. I save everything that I've covered because I've been doing this since 97. I save all my old notes. And I have a majority of them. Some just get lost over the years. Bad hard drives, deleted emails accidentally, whatever, deleted drafts. But for the most part, I have my notes. And as you go through the year, you see things coming up repeatedly. And I noticed this about 4 months ago, but it's now happening more as we get to the end of the year. If you ever want to be amazed, look up The Rock versus Roman Reigns WrestleMania. But what you do is when you go to Google, go to advanced search where it says you could put a custom range of dates in there. And do it like this. Go January 1, 2016, December 31st, 2016. Just look up that year and you'll find at least 1, maybe 2 articles where either Roman Reigns or The Rock talks about how they would love to face each other for WrestleMania. You will find at least one 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. I think it started at 2017. Every year, there's at least one time where Rock or Roman Reigns talk about how they would love to face each other at WrestleMania. It's literally gone on for like 7 straight years, maybe 8. I don't know if they did it this year. I have to go back and look for 2025, but you'll find it. And you'll see Rock on TV shows talking about it. You'll see Roman Reigns do a random podcast. When was the last time you saw that? And every year, at least once or twice, they're talking about facing each other. It's literally been 7 or 8 straight years. It's amazing. If you look it up, you'll be like, holy shit, it's true. All right, Jim Khan says to Mikey, Canada represents. So that goes out to Mikey. So, by the way, shout out to Toronto fans out there, fans of the Toronto Blue Jays. Came up this short to the Dodgers in the World Series. You know, my prediction was the Dodgers winning it. A lot of you may remember I said good pitching beats good hitting. I will admit that the Blue Jays had a better offense than the Dodgers in the World Series. But Yamamoto, all you need is that one pitcher. You get that one pitcher that is the stopper. He won 3 games, and Yamamoto was a monster. And he ended up getting the MVP. And ultimately, you know, all you need is just if you can just outlast with good pitching. I always believe good pitching does beat good hitting. Not every time, but most times a tremendous pitcher. Because, you know, when you get desperation, then, you know, you start seeing players swing at anything. And one thing that the Blue Jays did screw up with is they didn't leave. I know they left a little bit more on base than the Dodgers, especially Game 7. But what the Blue Jays started happening late in the World Series is they were leaving a lot of men on base with no outs and 1 out. I was watching a whole bunch of analytics shows during, after, before, and I noticed a couple of interesting statistics. And when they really needed that clutch, not saying that they missed every time, but there were many times with no outs and 1 out, and they couldn't advance the runner. And, you know, you can have less strikeouts than the other team, but when those strikeouts are happening when runners are in scoring position, that's where you screw up. The Dodgers squeaked it out. They won in 11, and they're the new world champions 2 years in a row. So there was a little bit of controversy during the series, no question. But, you know, the Dodgers definitely, let me put it this way, it wasn't a farce. It went down to the half an inning. I mean, that's tremendous. And the Dodgers, you know, I think the only problem, didn't Bo Bichette, Dante Bichette's son, I think it is, right? Didn't he already declare free agency like as soon as the World Series is over? I mean, I think that came out and I was like, wow. I'm like, you know, couldn't wait like a little bit. I don't know. But shout out to Canada, because Blue Jays definitely came prepared. They just came a little bit short. Don't know if they return to the World Series next year, but they definitely earned what they got. All right. Let's head on over again to some other questions. 316 MMA. Do I think that the 2 women's matches at Mania will be Bianca versus Jade, Liv versus Roxanne for the women's championship? Liv wins the Rumble, Bianca wins the Chamber. Jade and Roxanne will be champions into WrestleMania. If I'm WWE, I would keep the title on Jade Cargill into WrestleMania. I mean, it's only a 5-month run. You know, 5 months. It'll. Let me put it this way. Look at it like this. Royal Rumble is only a little over 2 months away. And even if you wait to the Chamber, that's only about 3 months away. I mean, you know, if you look at Julia's reign, Julia had 3 months and you're like, You're like, what has she done? It's not her fault. But 3 months goes by like that. So, especially with what we talked about earlier. So, I could see Jade holding on to it by Mania. As far as Roxanne being the women's champion going into Mania, I'm not so sure about that. I don't know. I mean, as of right now, I could see Liv Morgan winning the Royal Rumble, but I don't know as far as who's going to be women's champion. Stephanie Vaquer, many know that, Nikki Bella is going to turn on her and they'll have a match. Might be at Survivor Series, who knows? But does Stephanie Vaquer hold that championship until Mania? I don't know about that. But right now, I think it's way too early. Way too early. Liv Morgan does not need to have a championship match in WrestleMania. But I could totally understand why she returns at the Royal Rumble and wins it, points to the sign. Everybody loses their shit. I think it's a little too soon. I think it's a little too soon to make that prediction. So, but Jade versus Bianca, I definitely could see that happening. I think that's a money match for WrestleMania. That is a legit money match for WrestleMania. And do it in Vegas. Do it in Vegas. So, Tristan wants to know my thoughts on the Nexus debut when they destroyed the arena in Cena. It was tremendous. Bryan Danielson getting suspended for using the tie on Justin Roberts was ridiculous. Glad that they brought him back, a little bit, too late. I mean, never too late at that time, but, why it took that long to bring him back was a little bit wrong. But it was good. It was good. Kevin and I did an episode of the DTKC show that night, and that used to be part of our intro for a while. Didn't I have an intro also that WWE created 8 stars in one night and TNA hasn't created one in 8 years? I think that was the intro. That was from that night. The Nexus did what they did. It was good. It was good. I mean, it was believable. Tony loves Wade Barrett, but he's long since retired. Never say never, but he can't see it happening. I had somebody telling me the other day that maybe we'll see Corey Graves and Wade Barrett or Corey Graves and Pat McAfee. And I don't know if there's really a demand for it. I mean, I would love to see Corey Graves back in the ring once in a blue moon because I know he really wants to do it. It would be pretty interesting to see him if he just did a Royal Rumble spot. But I just feel that it's too long gone. Wade Barrett, it would be fun, but, again, I don't want to see something like what they did with Pat McAfee and Gunther. Remember that ridiculous shit with Gunther and Pat McAfee? They were covering up how Gunther was not going after Jey Uso. Jey Uso beats Gunther for the championship. Fans are not happy about it. And Gunther decides to take a bunch of weeks off, not his doing, but he's off TV. And he comes back and you would think the first thing he would do is try to go after Jey Uso. And instead, he confronts Michael Cole and Pat McAfee. And I remember Michael Cole, this is unsafe working conditions, and blah, 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 blah. And next thing you know, Pat McAfee's having a match with Gunther. And they have the match, and Pat McAfee's fighting for Michael Cole and everything. And then they have the match, and all of a sudden, Pat McAfee's like, I know what he did to you is wrong, and I know it's absolutely awful, and Gunther's an evil man, but, he gave it all, he gave me his all, and blah, 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 blah. And Gunther's like, at least he stepped there. I'm like, what the fuck with this respect stuff? Then you realize 6 weeks went by, 7 weeks went by, and Gunther didn't even address Jey Uso, not even once. Things like that piss people off. That's why you see, when you hear people say, oh, WWE doesn't pay attention to how many dislikes they get on a YouTube video. Oh, really? Says who? Says who? They can obviously easily influence it. There's plenty of websites and you can contribute $50 and you'll get a whole bunch of people in Calcutta to suddenly put 1 million likes on something if you want. We catch some people inflating their numbers the wrong way sometimes. But WWE does care. because they want to get a vibe. And when you see a lot of negativity on social media, also, listen, I don't trust Twitter all that much. You know, I don't trust polls. I don't trust things like that because most of the negative vibe you get through social media, you don't get in everyday life. I talk to a bunch of friends that all watch wrestling, and it's weird. When we talk through emails and DMs and we go on Discord, it's like, you know, everybody's talking about, you know, what they like or what they'd like to see improve or what they don't like right now. But it's not this real deep, you know, harsh dislike for anything. But you bring it to, you know, Facebook or X, and, you know, it just, the vibe feels completely different, like weirdly negative. And you realize, you know, misery loves company, and that's why everybody goes there. Trust me, again, I see a lot of discussion on Jey Uso. Jey Uso has got thick skin. When he does, that's why I played that intro of him talking to Alfred. You know, what other comeback can he have? He can't criticize, he won't criticize himself. So you either have to turn this into a storyline or you have to blame it on haters. That's why Jey Uso's go-to, and you know, if you don't tune into the Monday shows when I make that impersonation, you probably don't know why I'm doing it. But you know, when Jey Uso was feuding with Gunther, especially, you know, he always reminded me of Red Fox. Anybody remember Red Fox, Sanford and Son? And if you go back and you listen to those promos, and he did it recently also about going for the World Heavyweight Championship. Jey Uso's comfort zone is cutting promos where everybody doubts him. Not everybody. I mean, obviously the Yeet verse aren't doubting him, but that's his go-to. And he said it on TV not too long ago. He said it during Gunther. Whenever he's got that stuck in the mud moment, or even if he gets tongue-tied, you know, even the interview with Sam Roberts last week, if you listen to it closely, like he gets a little bit stuck, and then what comes out? He doubted me. You doubted me. I have this person doubted me. I hear this. They doubted me. They doubted me. You doubted me. I'm tired of everybody doubting me. And it's like the same shit over and over and over and over again. But he'll be fine. He'll be fine. His spot on the WWE roster is safe. Triple H, you know, is not going to divert because of a little extra noise online. If anything, you know, they'll turn it into a little bit more of a storyline. They know exactly what they're doing, and that's the problem. Many times they know exactly what they're doing. They're also prepared for injury. Did you ever get this vibe when Seth Rollins got injured? Because we talked about it the following week. It felt like WWE was extremely prepared. Like there was no disarray, let's do this, let's do that. You know, like CM Punk was going to, I guess, face Seth Rollins again for the 85th time, you know, but it felt like they were very, very prepared. Like, oh, okay, Seth hurt himself against Cody, you know, crown jewel. All right, yeah, we'll have CM Punk win the title, and who can we put up against him? Oh, we'll have Jey Uso win the Battle Royal. Personally, I know a lot of people wanted LA Knight to win the Battle Royal. I personally think that would be a mistake because you don't want to start getting that aura that LA Knight can't win the big one. Especially recently, CM Punk and LA Knight had that promo exchange before Seth Rollins' injury, and it kind of exposed LA Knight a little bit. Remember that one? So you don't want to build that stigma that he can't win the big one, can't win the big one, can't win the big one, can't win the big one. So you had to go with Jey Uso. A lot of people didn't like it, but a lot of people won. Go check out Jey Uso's social media today and look at the middle finger response that he gave to some people. Roderick, in my opinion, what happened to the momentum Damian Priest had when he first left Raw or SmackDown? He was crazy over when he split from Judgment Day. Yeah, I said it towards the beginning of the show. as soon as they moved Damian Priest to SmackDown, it was like, now what? It's like, now what? They really don't know what the fuck to do. And the worst part about it was, you realize, Rhea Ripley and Dominic Mysterio, Damian Priest is awesome. And he's definitely earned his spot. I'm not throwing shade on Damian Priest, but you realize that sometimes they got no backup plan for some people. For the World Heavyweight Championship, they've already figured out, trust me, when they go to WWE Unreal Season 2 and they're covering Seth Rollins, they're not going to reveal everything, but you're going to see like, all right, we're prepared for this. All right, we got to do it audible. We got to do this. We got to do that. But audibles have audibles. And when you realize, Vince McMahon would do this a little bit towards the latter part of his years. If you remember, there was time where Usos and New Day, every time that their feud was over, within a couple of months, they started fighting each other again. And, people reported at that time that Vince McMahon knew that that was an easy go-to, especially on house shows. Want a good example of that now? Before Liv Morgan got injured. Liv Morgan was finished with Rhea Ripley. They had their feud. Now they move on. And then they toured. I don't remember if they toured the United Kingdom, but early this year, they toured somewhere. And Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley were done with their feud. And the whole tour was Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. Like, there are matches that WWE always fall back on. For a while, I think it was Randy Orton and Sheamus. Randy Orton and Sheamus. If you look up how many times those guys have fought each other, it's mind-boggling. And every, so often, they would always put them against each other, especially on house shows. And I remember that infamous night where the fans started doing the wave, and they were chanting Michael Cole's name, and they were trolling both guys. Fans were tired of that match. It's just, you would be shocked how many times they faced each other. So WWE has a safe zone, but with Damian Priest, you realize that outside of Judgment Day stuff, where he was feuding with Finn Balor, and Jade McDonough, and Dirty Dom, and having tags with Rhea Ripley and Dirty Dom, Rhea Ripley and him versus Dirty Dom and Liv. You realize, once they were done with that, it's like, okay, who do we feud with next for Damian Priest? Oh, you got nobody on Raw? All right, let's move him to SmackDown. You're moving to SmackDown, that gets him away from Judgment Day, and that's the end of it. Remember Cross and Sami Zayn? You remember Sami Zayn abruptly moved to SmackDown? And we were like, oh, okay. You realize you just move someone to the other brand and it's like, oh, that's how we can move on. But then you realize, okay, who do we pair him up with now? And then you realize no one's been able to replace the Judgment Day feuding with Damian Priest. He's had some good matches, no question, but they don't have nobody. Austin Nance brings up Randy and Sheamus. Guys, that was a fun talking point back in the day. They fought so many times. We were just like, oh, God, again. Oh, God, please, no. And the worst thing about it was they'd have good matches, but you saw them face each other so many times, you could literally predict the entire match. You knew what was coming almost every single time. All right. We got a super shout out from Brian Hunt. My thoughts on Evolve's new champion, Kendall Gray's main roster potential. My thoughts about Kendall Gray and Evolve in general is this. We need to remember what Evolve is. Evolve is a promotion that Gabe Sapolsky used to own, and there were quite a few tremendous talents that came from Evolve. You go back before COVID, Evolve put a lot of stars that you see now. You see, I think Riddle was over there. Ricochet was over there. You look at, there's quite a few names are in Evolve. And I think Gabe Sapolsky's Evolve was much higher on the foot. Let me put it this way. Evolve should have been what Ring of Honor was. Evolve could have replaced Ring of Honor. Once Tony Khan bought Ring of Honor, and I'm not throwing shade, I'm just telling you my opinion. Once Tony Khan bought Ring of Honor, it became a second promotion where he puts everyone that can't fit on Dynamite or Collision or Rampage when Rampage was around. You want to put a belt on someone and it's not fitting in with Dynamite or Rampage, all right, no problem. Collision, all right, we'll give him Ring of Honor. And the biggest mistake that Tony Khan did was putting Ring of Honor talents on Dynamite and Rampage and Collision. You couldn't resist because he wanted to get that exposure because he wanted the TV deal. That's why Jericho had the 2 title reigns. They wanted the TV deal for Ring of Honor. He wanted to do what the previous owners could not do, what Carrie Silkin couldn't do, what the others couldn't do. But it didn't work out. So now you see, wrestlers doing a Ring of Honor thing, and then they'll show up here, and then they'll show up there, and Ring of Honor lost its identity, has no identity at all. Evolve now is the minor, or if you want to compare it to like baseball, it's like the single A of baseball. It is a step below NXT, and that's not a bad thing. These are wrestlers who are on the cusp of getting developmental, and some may reach it a lot faster than others. But, Kendall Gray, good momentum, not a bad choice for a champion, but you cannot start looking in Evolve like NXT. That will hurt so many people there. The reason why I don't cover Evolve is not that I don't watch it periodically, but because it's unfair to judge wrestlers in Evolve when you're having conversation about NXT and AEW and WWE and TNA. And the reason why I say that is because there's a lot of wrestlers in Evolve who suck on the mic. There's a lot of wrestlers in Evolve who you look at and you're like, is it fair and is it respectful for me to turn around and grade someone who's wrestling pretty bad on Evolve when I know it's the minor leagues? It is developmental. The idea is you grow, and you shouldn't put that pressure on people in Evolve. When someone breaks out and you realize, oh shit, we got something special here, you move them to NXT. But we have to keep Evolve in what it should be. And that is 1 or 2 steps below NXT. That's not a shot on them. This is training camp. This is where tryouts happen. This is where you get, wrestlers who have promise, and you realize who you think could stand out. And the ID program is almost like a step below that. And, we talked about the ID program 2 weeks ago in a history show because it was 1 year anniversary very recently. Now you realize that WWE signed a lot of those wrestlers to 1 year deals. And after a year, they reevaluated some people like, we don't see much progress. All right, we're going to cut them loose. We don't see much here. We're going to cut them loose. Oh, okay, we'll put this person in Evolve. So it's unfair to judge or grade anybody in Evolve comparing it to like NXT or WWE or anything else. Is Kendall Gray a keeper? So far, I'd say yes. But Evolve is developmental, and it has to be looked that way. Whenever I see, younger fans, younger podcasters, I can't criticize them. But when I see veterans in the journalist world, like criticizing wrestlers in Evolve, I just nod my head and I'm like, you do realize what Evolve is. This is raw talent. This is green as grass. This is, where you got something. Now you got to try to bring it out and build on that and develop it. You want to compare it to a pregnancy? Evolve is like the first trimester. NXT is where you start showing a little bit of bulge. And then when you're about to give birth, that's when the main roster comes around. Evolve is just the very beginning stages. And I think some people rush that. You're going to get some people that are on the fast track because not everybody comes from a background outside of wrestling. Some people either have a wrestling background or some people pick that shit up. So that's my answer, Brian. Kendall Gray, definitely good champion to have. That sets the bar a little bit high for Evolve. But you want to know something? You have something legit, something substantial to gun for. And if you're going to put that bar as high as it is, even for Evolve purposes, then you want those that are close to maybe getting an NXT spot. That's when you know that you're almost to that level. But I see too many people grading Evolve talent, taking a little bit too seriously. And I think people need to remember, I'm not saying you, but people need to remember that, you got to keep it on the level of what it is. Even if you think someone's got it and you feel, oh, what are they doing? You got to remember what it is. Not JPEG. The only thing that we know about Mike Rotunda is, he's going to be in rehab center for quite some time. When his daughter Mika told us about, what happened, when you have a massive heart attack and you're in a coma for a week, a lot of you, when you hear rehab center, you almost picture like, oh, like you're helping someone walk up the stairs. Like, oh, you're doing a good job. You go on a treadmill, riding a bike. Yeah, I'm in rehab. I'm making a return. No, rehab center is where he may have to learn to talk again. I'm not saying that he can't talk, but, it is very, very, very serious what's going on right now. So he's in an area now where he is stable enough that he doesn't have to stay on, machines and everything, but, he may be there for weeks, could be there for months, could have a major setback. It's too early to tell. It's really, really awful. And we had a conversation last week. I don't remember if it was on Patreon, but I do think that the Rotunda family does have a genetic history of heart disease. You remember what happened with Bray. This could be the case for Mike Rotunda. But I hope he pulls through, man. He's too young. He is too young. And it's really sad to hear. It's really sad to hear. All right. We're in an hour and 48 minutes. We'll wrap this up at 2 hours. So we should be done in about 10 minutes. So don't forget, Monday night, right after Raw, you could join me live at our Discord channel is DTKCDiscord.com. DTKCDiscord.com. Very easy to remember. We'll be live immediately after Raw goes off the air. I don't know how many of you are adapting to this, time change, spring ahead. No, spring ahead, fall back. So it was supposed to be an hour extra sleep yesterday. Bullshit. I didn't get no extra hour sleep. Technically, it's almost 11 here. Benjamin is asking, is having a tournament for the honor of facing John Cena the most narcissistic shit that I've ever seen in wrestling? Not even Hogan or Jericho would pull something like this. This is a way to do it without a storyline, without a feud, without a back and forth. That's the problem. If John Cena still had 6 appearances left, or if you didn't have a countdown, you can have anybody come out there and challenge him. John Cena could have showed up on Saturday night's main event and Gunther could have showed up and attacked him. or could have cut a promo. I'm just, improvising here. They limited Cena's final appearances so much, you can't build the storyline. You can't even have a contract signing. So honestly, I think this is a fine way of doing it. But what you do is you really should try to have it people that have come across Cena before. Joe Hendry never came across Cena, but I don't know. Let me put it this way. When they did the Battle Royal to determine who was going to face CM Punk at Saturday Night's Main Event, nothing against this guy. But if we're being honest, Otis was in the fucking match. The guy, other than the AAA appearance for the most part in the house show, Otis has done nothing. How do you get in a Battle Royal to get a shot at possibly for the World Heavyweight Championship and you've done nothing? Recently, I should say. My point is, what I don't want to see in this tournament is someone that has no ties really to Cena. Like, we don't want an Otis in this tournament, with all due respect. We want names that either have a history with Cena or some connection, something somewhere. Joe Hendry, like I said, very public, would love to face Cena. Cena's showed some praise for Joe Hendry. I could see that. You want to bring someone NXT, somebody promising? Absolutely. To get the honor to face John Cena? I know, poor Otis. But this was the right way to go. If you didn't have the limited appearances, there's so many other things they could have done. But they backed themselves up in a corner. And you want to know something, guys? Somewhere, someone is going to report, my sources tell me, that the plan for a Battle Royal to determine who faces Cena at Saturday Night's Main Event was always the plan. Trust me. Someone out there is going to do this. Expect it within 48 hours. Someone out there is going to pull this out. And then you'll remember, but you said for months that it was going to be this. Yeah, but I never said how they were going to get to this person. So Michael Gonzalez wants my prediction for the New York City election. I talked about this a little on Patreon. I'll sum it up like this, because I know a lot of you are not from New York. I'll tell you who I think is going to win, and I'll tell you something strange that's going on right now. I think Mondami is going to win. I think Mondami is going to get like 43% of the vote, 44% of the vote. I think Cuomo is going to get like around 30. Sleewer's going to get 33. Sleewer's going to get like 10. And then people are going to realize that if Sleewer was out of the race, Cuomo may have been able to beat Mondami one-on-one. Some people may feel that if Cuomo was out of the race, Sleewer could have beat Mondami one-on-one. I think Mondami's going to win, and I think nothing is going to get done in New York for the next 4 years. That's my gut feeling. I think Trump is going to come in here and fuck with New York State a little bit. Not rooting for either side. I'm just saying, like, it's going to be a mess for the next 4 years. But what is interesting that's happening right now, I'll be brief, is I've talked about this before, and I'm going to reveal something publicly on these shows that I haven't revealed. Our Patreon family knows about this. But now, because the election's going to be over in a couple of days, I don't mind saying it. I live in Howard Beach, and I have revealed in the past that Sleever opened an office right next to mine, literally next door. I have people from his campaign coming in my office once in a while, having a cup of coffee, talking about a few things. I get people coming in my office every day. Is this Sleever's office? I'm like, no, it's next door. I met him a couple of times. In fact, I think do I still have the picture in my computer here? Maybe not. I think I deleted it already. He's a very intelligent man. But the problem, wait, I do have it here. Here you go. Very quickly. Oh, wait. Yeah. That's him, and that's his wife. He's 71, she's 48. They do get along very, very well. So this was not too long ago. He's very, very smart. My problem with Sliwa is he kept the beret on, and he's got the aura of being, always guardian angels. And when he was in the debates and he didn't have the beret on, he looked like a politician. And I think his biggest mistake is the aura of still being a gang member even if that's not the right words to use. And I think that's why so many people just felt like, we like him, but I don't think he could handle New York. So what a lot of people don't know is that the mob still has a vendetta with Sliwa from the 80s and the 90s. There's a lot of people in the mob that still would like to see Sliwa 6 feet under. And there's a lot of people in my neighborhood that word around the campfire, word around the water cooler, is that all the benefit dinners that Sliwa was supposed to have in my neighborhood, none of them happened because some people in connections, put a stop on that. Let's put it that way without getting too deep. So here's the thing. What's really strange that's been going on is there's a lot of people in my neighborhood that I interact with who used to be connected, and they hate Trump. Every single person who ever was, connected before hate Trump, despise him. And the weird thing about it is you would think Mondami turning this shit upside down, and especially after Cuomo, did what he did during COVID, and they don't, everything with that, and even, I just explained Sliwa, you would think that in droves they would all vote for Mondami. Every single person that I've talked to have said to me either they voted for Cuomo or, I'm voting for Cuomo, but I'm not telling anybody. So I don't think it's enough for Cuomo, but I think there's going to be a shitload of people that are going to vote for Cuomo, but not admit it. Because it's the worst, it's the lesser of two evils. To me, Sliwa is extremely dedicated and loves New York, and I think could do a good job, but I just feel his presentation was too limited. Cuomo, I have no interest in, and Mondami, I just think he's 33 years old. I just think it's a lot of promises for a lot of free stuff, but in the end, everybody pays. You want to take money away from, stores and do this, no problem. And then that's the reason why groceries get as expensive as they are. I mean, nothing is free, but there's enough gullible people out there that do believe that they will get something for free and they'll vote for it. So that's what I think is going to happen. Yep. That is, you probably won't hear what I just said on any news outlet or any political stuff, but I promise you it is 1000% real. I'm right in the middle of it. So, all right. We got 3 minutes left. Travis Scott will not retire John Cena. Travis Scott, forget it. Listen, remember when WWE with Chris Jericho? It never happened. Remember with Earl Hebner? Earl, it never happened. Trust me, if Triple H could do the same thing as far as Travis Scott, I don't know what they were thinking. And the worst part about it is it's going to happen again with somebody else. I'm just still surprised how little buzz Logan Paul is getting. As much as I don't like that guy personally, we brought it up on last week's show. Where is he? Why is nobody bringing up Logan Paul's name? Again, you see what WWE's doing. They're milking shit for years. And when they feel it's like, all right, we have to pull a trigger on something. All right, let's have Logan Paul come back. All right, let's have this person turn on this person, even if it doesn't make sense. All right, let's pull the trigger on this person. All right. It's almost like when you're forced that you have to make a decision, that's what they're doing. And people are getting annoyed at it. CM Punk, most people believe, would not be world champion right now, even if he did face Seth Rollins at Saturday Night's main event last night. Kevin Milwaukee is asking, does Tony Khan have it in him to have a creative plan for a Mark Briscoe world title run? I honestly don't think so. Look, it took, if we're honest, it took Jay Briscoe's death to get Mark Briscoe on Warner Brothers Discovery Television. It took his death. I mean, I would hope by now the Briscoes, there would have been enough proof that they would have been on AEW television anyway. Mark Briscoe to me is that lovable guy that is tough as nails, but I don't see it. like Ring of Honor champion, yeah, I could see that. I don't see it as far as AEW. And if that ever happens, it'll be for such a short amount of time. I don't see that. I don't. Byron Cutler thinks Logan Paul could win King of the Ring. Yeah, I could see that happening. Logan Paul could possibly win the Royal Rumble. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but, where is he? Why is he not being used? And please, none of this, WWE has nothing for Logan Paul right now. And trust me, someone will put that out there. I'm a little surprised they haven't already. They're just rinse and repeating shit. And it's just, is only so far. And trust me, I think this is why you're seeing a significant change coming for the bloodline and the Usos, because they're forced to. They're forced to. I'll leave everybody with this about Jey Uso. Since we started with Jey Uso, we'll finish with Jey Uso. You know how you know that this is clearly storyline driven? I'll tell you how. I invite anyone out there, please go watch Jey Uso on that Raw talk, whatever it is, with Sam Roberts and Megan Morant, I think, is also on there. Go check out the appearance for last week. And let me tell you why. Jey Uso just did a podcast. I don't remember if it was Hot 97 in New York, but he just did an appearance on radio like a week before that. And he's annoyed of fans saying that he's just an entrance. He comes out, yeet, whatever. He's tired of hearing that he's just an entrance. Now, if you look on social media, you'll see a bunch of fans now suddenly thinking that they're smart, and they're like, oh, to me, Jay's just an entrance. They're saying that because Jey said that. We know that Jey Uso's not just an entrance. We know that he can actually work in the ring. He's become a gimmick because that's what got him to the next level. That's what got him connected with the kids and the fans. They want to wear the yeet glasses. They want to do this. They want 4 letters, 1 word. Like everybody likes to mimic it. He became a gimmick, and he knows that. So when you watch Jey Uso a week before, go on a podcast and say, I'm tired of everybody saying I'm an entrance. Then you go watch Raw Talk. When he's on with Sam Roberts and Megan Morant, he's full-blown entrance mode. This is a regular interview. He's got the yeet glasses on. He's got the yeet shirt. Everything about him is his entrance. So if he's so tired of everybody looking at him as an entrance, why are you dressed in full entrance mode for an interview? You understand what I'm saying? This is all storyline driven now. And some people will be late to the game. Some people will say, oh, they had to switch to this because they had no choice. No, this is deliberate. Remember, 6 weeks ago, when Jimmy and Jay were having that conversation and bringing up some insults towards Roman Reigns' way. And if you remember that night when they were in the back and throwing shade to Roman, I remember we covered it on the show and I said, why are they like suddenly throwing shade Roman's way? Like, what's this? Why are you forcing that? Like, why would you? They're all together. They're family again. Why would you bring up? And here's the worst part about it. I think Jimmy Uso was bringing up Roman Reigns, but we're talking Roman Reigns from 3 years ago. Since then, Mania came and went. Since then, everything that happened from April until recently came and went. And they're acting as if Roman Reigns never did any of this. Like, everything's been resolved. Everything's been dead and buried. Everything's been crushed. They're family again. They're tight. And then they have this discussion in the back and they're throwing shade. You're starting to be more and more like Roman. I'm like, what are you talking about? We've already passed that bridge. Why are you bringing it up 2 years ago? And you realize forced. It's forced. All right. WrestleMess with the run-in. WrestleMess says, do I think anyone could turn Logan Paul babyface? Believe it or not, yes, I could see Logan Paul as a babyface. Logan Paul, this is true. Logan Paul was very uncomfortable with the heel heat that he was getting early on because he was taking it personally. And listen, just because you have 100 million followers, whatever he has, doesn't mean that, real human emotion doesn't happen. He was definitely not comfortable with it. Once Logan Paul embraced that a lot of fans don't like him, that's when, you started to see Logan Paul come out. Early on, he wore the Pokemon card and like he was, I don't even know if he was a heel yet at that time or whatever it was, it just didn't fit. But you started to see him getting more and more comfortable. And then he backed it up in the ring. A lot of people don't like Logan Paul outside of wrestling. I don't like him at all. Trust me, I don't care how good his Lunchly stuff is. I see it come across the store. I keep going. I'll eat outdated Lunchables. I'll eat 5-year-old Lunchables before I eat a Lunchly. But inside that ring, you could see that he gives a shit. Yes, he's very cocky and he has an ego, and that's why he's as good as he is. Because everything has got to be over the top. Everything has got to be unbelievable, amazing. You want that for somebody in wrestling. And let me tell you something. Even though Seth Rollins and a bunch of people still, when they cut promos on Logan Paul, or even interviews, they're like, oh, he's an outsider. He's not one of us. Let me tell you something. Logan Paul is in that company a lot longer than people realize. And a lot of people have accepted him a couple of years ago. Fans can feel when somebody cares about what they do. That's what got Dominic Mysterio over to the next level. People started to see this guy eats, sleeps, shits wrestling. He cares about wrestling. He doesn't disrespect it. He doesn't throw shade on it. You know who's the opposite of that? Ronda Rousey. And I used to be a huge fan of Ronda Rousey. But you'd be surprised. You go back 5-6 years, and even though Ronda Rousey was wrestling already, she was in Evolution, the first one, 2018. But you'll see Ronda Rousey doing interviews in 2020 and 2021 before any falling out, and she'll bring up how wrestling is fake shit. No one is on my level. No one. It's fake shit. Like, she wouldn't say it all the time, but it's almost like when she was having an interview with someone in the MMA world, like she almost felt like embarrassed to talk about wrestling as legitimate. So she would always throw a shot, and wrestling fans took notice of that. She was not proud to be a professional wrestler. She believed that because she was an MMA fighter and tough, that's the aura that she should always have in WWE. No one would believe me losing to Alexa Bliss. No one would believe me losing to this person. Look at what I am. Look where I came from. How could you do that? She could not separate reality from entertainment. Logan Paul, though, like I said, fans feel when someone truly respects wrestling, and I think he does. He's got enough money. He don't need wrestling. So the fact that he does this and does it at the level that he does, that will garner respect. That will garner respect. That's why if Gunther ever turns babyface, which I honestly think should never happen, but if Gunther ever turns babyface, fans will buy into it immediately because they know he respects wrestling. And even though we don't consciously think about that all that much, the wrestlers who respect wrestling, and you know that they respect it, they don't even have to say that they respect, but you just know it and you feel it. Those are the people that you root for and you gravitate to. And Logan Paul is one of them. I think Logan Paul definitely could be a babyface in the future. Definitely think so. All right, everybody. We're out of time. We're a little over 2 hours. So I want to thank you all for joining me. I hope everyone had a wonderful Halloween. Mine was pretty uneventful. We were going to dress the dogs up for Halloween, but we waited too long. So next year, we'll dress them up. For everybody that always loves to hear me talk about my dogs, this is Bruno. And I'm going to dress him up as Gizmo next year from Gremlins. He'll be Gizmo. And Bella, you probably have to go with like Cinderella or something. So she is a spoiled bitch. She is spoiled. So those are my dogs. So, but I hope everyone has a good rest of your Sunday evening. I'm going to get myself some sleep. And once again, live right after Raw, DTKCDiscord.com. You can catch me there. We'll talk about the weekend news, follow up on some other stuff, and we'll have a fun show as always. But thank you guys. Much love. And once again, big shout out to our family here on YouTube, everybody on Patreon, everybody who follows us on the website. I can't thank you all enough for your support. And I hope to see you guys on the next one. We'll be live next Sunday night, 8:05 p.m. And I would say in about 2 or 3 weeks, once I discuss it a little bit with our Patreon family and our channel members here, we start getting an idea of what we want to expand for 2026. I'll definitely bring it across to all of you, and you let me know what you think, because we definitely want to make 2026 a year to remember as far as what we do. So be well. I catch you all in the next one.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.
Ah, the old me. The very old me. And the Salvation Army me. And I used to be a little drummer. How do you like this one? That's the WHT cable box on the left. I think that's like 1976, 75, 76. No, that's got to be 74 or 75, because this is 70. What year did Elvis die? 77. That's 77. That's the day before Elvis died. What a difference, man. I got to show you something. This is 77 and this is 87. What a difference, right? Look, I went from that to that in 10 years. And believe it or not, as crazy as it sounds, I think this is around 97. Holy shit, I think I have like decades. Do I have 2007 here? I do. The stuff with Louis. All right, here's 2006. Wow, that's crazy, man. I got shit from every decade. Wow. All right. I officially jet. Sorry, Johnny. I didn't see your comment until right as we finish the show. I wear a size XL for a shirt. Be well. Talk to you all again soon.